in the American Development Bank in partnership with the private sector organization of Jamaica.
Maintenance of true religion and justice, the safety, honor, and happiness of the king, the public weal, peace and tranquility of the island, and the uniting and knitting together of the hearts of all persons and estates within the same, in true Christian love and charity, one towards another, through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen.
You may be seated. This Honorable House now resumes its sitting. It is always a great honor and pleasure to welcome you all to the sitting of the Honorable House of Representatives for today, this Tuesday, April 1st, 2025. I would like to extend a special welcome to all those who are joining us online via the various social media platforms, PBCJ live stream, as well as those who are watching in the gallery. Let me make special welcome Ms. Tiffany Stewart, our new Senior Legislative Counsel to the Parliament. Stewart, welcome to the Houses. George Alini Senate UWI has approximately 30 attendees who should be joining us today, along with 2 of their teachers. Let's make them welcome. Call of the roll.
Mr. Clark, Mr. Bartlett, Dr. Holness, Dr. Chang, Mrs. Williams, Ms. Grange, Mr. Mackenzie, Mr. Chuck, Mr. Vaz, Dr. Tufton, Mrs. Malawu Fort, Mr. Green, Mr. Charles Jr., Mr. Matthew Samuda, Mr. Morgan, Mrs. Cuthbert Flynn, Mr. Main, Mr. Davis, Mr. Terry Long, Mr. Hutchinson, Mr. Witter, Dr. Dunn, Mr. Brown, Mr. Brown, oh, Dr. Brownberg, Dr. Charles, Mr. Chin, Mr. Cousins, Miss Crawford, Miss Daly, Mrs. Dalrymple Philibert, Miss Davis, Mr. Golding, Mr. Graham, Dr. Guy, Miss Hamilton, Miss Hannah, Mr. Enriquez, Mr. Henry, Mr. Hilton, Mr. Lawrence, Miss Lee, Mr. Miller, Mr. Montague, Ms. Morrison, Mrs. Nita Garvey, Mr. Paulwell, Mr. Phillips, Dr. Phillips, Mr. Robertson, Mr. Robinson, Mr. Carl Samuda, Mr. Shaw, Mr. Sibley's, Mr. Slowly, Mr. Smith, Mrs. Vaz, Mr. Warmington, Dr. Wheatley, Mr. Williams, Mr. Wilson, and Mr. Wright. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
House Leader.
Here are a few things I look for in a credit card as a mom, and why the Neo MasterCard is my go-to. Number one, rewards program.
Madam Speaker, I would like, on behalf of members of this Honorable House, to join you in welcoming to the staff of this Honorable House, indeed, both Houses of Parliament, Ms. Tiffany Stewart, as our senior legislative counsel. She does come to us with a wealth of experience, having served in the judicial spaces in other areas, and she confided in me that she feels particularly happy to transit to this area of judicial activities so that she could add to the development of legislation and more so the strengthening of the democratic tradition of our country. I'd like also to welcome the members in the gallery from, I think it's the University of Technology, and to hope that they will enjoy today's sitting and learn as much as is possible, and to be able, University of the West Indies, yes, I should have known better, having passed through those portals myself. We want to welcome you. Madam Speaker, it is intended today to have a number of statements by ministers and to pursue the items on the agenda in order thereafter. May it please you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, House Leader. First statement by Minister, the Minister of Finance and the Public Service. Please make her welcome.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, in January 2025, we announced a special arrears settlement program aimed at relief for taxpayers of any unpaid interest, penalty, and surcharges on tax types, including education tax, corporate income tax, individual income tax, pay as you earn, special consumption tax, general consumption tax, asset tax, and partnership income tax. This was to encourage taxpayers to pay their principal amounts by the deadline of March 31st, 2025. At the time of the announcement, it was also in recognition of the significant weather events we had with the Category 5 Hurricane Beryl and Tropical Storm Raphael that left many businesses and individuals in a state that required rebuilding. Madam Speaker, we're pleased to announce that at March 31, 2025, our assessment showed that the program has been very successful in collecting over $10.5 billion, surpassing the $10 billion target, and thereby indicating a willingness by taxpayers to pay their principal taxes and to benefit from the waiver of interest, penalty, and surcharge. The $10.5 billion payment of principal taxes will result in approximately $12 billion of interest and surcharge waivers, interest penalty and surcharge waivers. It should be penalty. While there is still a very large amount of principal, interest, penalty, and surcharge arrears on the accounts, the Special Arrears Settlement Program has been an effective way to reduce the stock of debt on the books of TAJ. Since the program, Madam Speaker, over 615 million in interest, penalty, and surcharge has been removed from the system and represent just a fraction of the amount to be removed based on principal payments. The TAJ is configuring its system to automatically remove the qualifying interest, penalty, and surcharge by the end of April 30, 2025. This is to say to taxpayers that they may still see the interest, penalty, and surcharge on their accounts, but know that the TAJ is working assiduously such that by the end of April 2025, all the accounts will be updated. Madam Speaker, the TAJ records show that compliance officers made over 30,000 contacts or intervention with taxpayers owing over 43 billion in principal taxes with associated interest, penalty, and surcharge of $49 billion. Of that, 90% of these taxpayers has expressed an interest to pay off their principal taxes. However, many taxpayers with very large principal balances have found it difficult to source the necessary funding to pay the principal taxes in the limited time given under the Special Arrears Settlement Program. As a result, Madam Speaker, I am pleased to announce that the program is being extended to May 31, 2025 to allow additional taxpayers to benefit. The comprehensive public awareness program and compliance activities that supported the waiver program will be continued. I want to say thank you to the entire staff at TAJ, especially the compliance officers who made contact with over 30,000 taxpayers. We greatly appreciate the work that you are doing. To Jamaicans all, we know that you understand the importance of the government collecting taxes so that the government is therefore better able to provide all the services that you, our citizens, need. In a recent survey, you expressed your understanding of why the government has to collect taxes. These statistics affirm your knowledge of the likely implication that affect us all. And in that survey, when asked about the consequence of low tax collections, meaning what are the implications when TAJ does not collect taxes, 91% said the health of the economy is negatively impacted when TAJ does not collect taxes. 89% said the ability for government to pay for social amenities is reduced when TAJ does not collect taxes. 89% also said there's an inability to service the country's debt when TAJ does not collect taxes. 87% said an inability to invest in infrastructural development when TAJ does not collect taxes. 89% said inability to pay the salaries and wage of public sector workers when TAJ does not collect taxes. 72%, Madam Speaker, recognized that if TAJ does not collect taxes, then there is likely to be an increase in tax rates. 88% said an inability to establish an optimal budget for the country, and 78% said a consequence of low tax collection is increased tax burden on those who pay taxes. Madam Speaker, Jamaicans understand their obligation. Madam Speaker, I'm also pleased that the following tax offices were opened this past month and Saturday. They were Portmore, St. Andrew at Constant Spring, Montego Bay, Mandeville, and St. Anne's Bay. These locations saw large numbers of taxpayers engaging in a variety of services, and we look forward to having more open for this April month and Saturday. But you do know, Madam Speaker, we are working with TAJ to ensure that across Jamaica, at least one tax office is open on a Saturday in each parish. And they inform me that they are just working out the logistics of that in terms of the HR component. Madam Speaker, in closing, I remind members of this honorable House that this government remains committed to fostering fiscal responsibility while at the same time is steadfast in providing fair and reasonable avenues for individuals and businesses to regularize their obligations. The Special Arrears Settlement Program has already provided much needed relief, and this extension will ensure that more Jamaicans can benefit. I encourage all eligible persons and businesses, Madam Speaker, to take full advantage of this extended opportunity. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The member from St. Andrew Southeastern.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The opposition takes no issue and supports the measure to extend the period by which persons can make outstanding payments. Positive about that. Positive about that. You know, you haven't left your constituency in about a year. So, Madam Speaker, to the Minister, two sets of questions. Could you indicate the total amount that is owed by taxpayers? And I don't know if you could segregate principal versus the penalties and the surcharges. And secondly, if you have an approximate number of the distinction between corporates versus individuals in terms of who owes what.
Madam Speaker, I don't have the exact amount owed by taxpayers, but I know it's a significant amount. And I believe the last time I looked, it was quite large, maybe well over 200-300 billion in terms of principal amount. Billion. And corporate versus individuals, I don't have that breakdown.
Thank you. House Leader.
Madam Speaker, the Minister of Finance has another statement to make. Would ask you to invite her to make that statement at this time. The statement by Minister segment will be recommitted at a later point in the agenda. I therefore ask that you proceed with the agenda as before us. May it please you.
Announcements, clerk.
Laid on the table of the House are the following: annual report and audited financial statements of the Jamaica International Free Zone Development Limited for the financial year 2019-2020. Annual report and audited financial statements of the National Water Commission for the financial year 2020-2021. Ministry paper number 12 of 2025 entitled Subscription to the 2018 International Finance Corporation General Capital Increase. Quarterly report of the Independent Commission of Jamaica for quarter 4 of 2024, reflecting the period October to December 2024. And finally, the Auditor General's Department certified appropriation accounts under head 06000 from the Minister of the Office of the Services Commission for the year 2015-2016. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Bills brought from the Senate.
The following is a message from the President of the Senate. To the Honorable House of Representatives, I have the honor to advise the Honorable House of Representatives that on the 28th day of March 2025, an act to apply a sum out of the consolidated fund to the service of the year ending on the 31st day of March 2026, and to appropriate the sums granted in this session of Parliament was passed in the Senate without amendment. The Honorable Thomas Tavares Finson, President of the Senate.
Petitions, papers, reports from committees. Notice of motions given orally, questions and answers to questions, motions that may be made at the commencement of public business requiring notice, motions relating to the sitting of the House, motions for leave to introduce bills, presentation of bills without leave of the House first obtained, public business. House Leader.
Madam Speaker, the item that I had asked relating to statement by ministers, which I would seek at a later point for us to have a recommittal of. The ministers are not quite ready to complete their presentations. The Minister of Finance has a particular slide I understand that she wants to show in making the presentation, and it's a little delayed in coming. Minister, is that the slide? Oh, good. Well, the slide is here, Madam Speaker. I therefore ask for a recommittal of the item statement by ministers, so as to allow the Minister of Finance to make her second statement. May it please you, Madam Speaker.
House Leader, moment please.
Madam Speaker, I take note of your guidance in relation to seeking leave of the House to allow for a matter in relation to the Ethics Committee to be dealt with, notwithstanding it not being on the standing orders for today. So may I please you to proceed in that manner, just ahead of the statement by Minister.
The question is that the Ethics Committee be allowed to meet while the sitting of the House is in session to facilitate this report from that committee coming to the Parliament within a necessary time frame to meet the requirements for a member seated in the Parliament. Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it. Thank you, members. Minister of Finance.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, Staten released the quarterly GDP results for the fourth quarter or the December quarter of the calendar year 2024. Madam Speaker, as you know, GDP growth is a much followed number as it gives an indication of a nation's economic health, allowing policymakers, businesses, and investors to understand and make informed decisions about economic performance and policy. It is important for Jamaicans to understand that PIOJ and Staten provide us with quarterly and annual GDP figures. PIOJ provides us with an estimate of GDP growth earlier in the following quarter, while Staten provides a definitive GDP growth figure. Madam Speaker, while the GDP growth figure for the December quarter is negative 0.8%, it is significantly better than the estimate PIOJ thought that we would have experienced, which is negative 1.8%. PIOJ has indicated that the areas of variation were primarily in wholesale/retail and tourism. This means those sectors did better than anticipated. If I could get a chart up on the screen, you will see a distinct V-shaped recovery following the devastation of Hurricane Beryl in the third quarter of 2024 and the follow-on negative impact of Tropical Storm Rafael in the fourth quarter of the calendar year 2024. This chart, Madam Speaker, shows GDP growth seasonally unadjusted, meaning year over year. So we're looking at fourth quarter 2024 versus fourth quarter 2023. There's another way, Mr. Speaker, that Staten also represents GDP growth, and that is seasonally adjusted, which compares, for example, the fourth quarter of 2024 versus the third quarter of 2024. And that chart looks quite different, Mr. Speaker. You can see, well, if the charts were going, Mr. Speaker, you could see the recovery in other areas as well. You would see a chart that shows the recovery in mining and quarrying from a deep decline of negative 17.4% in the third quarter and the significant improvement since then. Likewise, Madam Speaker, in the hotels and restaurant sector, the recovery is quite evident there as well, moving from the negative 4.9 to a significantly smaller negative of 0.3%. Madam Speaker, as a government, we remain committed to our growth agenda, which we know is sometimes disrupted by devastating weather events, and that is why our efforts over several years to build buffers to help protect this nation and our budgets are so incredibly important to make.
Hey, what was the name of that learning app again?
IXL. It gives each kid the exact support they need.
Are we talking about IXL? My kids love it, and research shows that.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The member from Southeast St. Andrew.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The figures confirm today what I think most of us knew that we've had 2 negative quarters of growth. From your own chart, the one before, you would notice that we have had a pretty steep decline from 2020 in the growth rate. While positive, there's been a deceleration all the way up to just before Hurricane Beryl hit us. The question I have for you, Minister, while I know you would not have official data at this stage, I know you would have some preliminary data about Q1, which would have finished yesterday. And if you could indicate whether from your preliminary data, whether Q1 2025 is pointing in a positive direction to take us out of negative growth or not. And really it underscores the need to accelerate the growth inducing strategies to ensure we can spend the capital budget in a timely manner, which we haven't done for the last 3 years, and to ensure that the other measures to release capital to the MSME sector, etc., are done so that these numbers can improve. Because, as I said, notwithstanding the shock, the first chart shows a steady decline over the last 3 years, which would have put us in negative growth with or without Hurricane Beryl. So if you could indicate, as I said, I know you wouldn't have final numbers, what Q1 2025 is looking like.
Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I must take note of your glasses.
Thank you, House Leader.
A very strong statement is being
Absolutely.
Mr. Speaker, I now invite you to ask the... Oh, you did? Oh, I'm sorry.
Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the last time PIOJ presented, which again, PIOJ gives us a preliminary estimate. They anticipate that we would return to economic growth in the January to March quarter 2025 with projections within the range of 0.1 to 1%. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. I now invite the Minister with our portfolio in the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation with responsibility for water to make his statement. Sorry.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Copies are on their way. The Parliament is in possession of them. Today I rise to essentially reaffirm the government's unwavering commitment to modernizing Jamaica's infrastructure and improving the quality of life for our citizens, ensuring sustainable economic growth. We are a government that delivers on its promises, one that is seized of the varied needs of our people and is taking decisive action to meet them. Through strategic investment, integrated planning, and efficient...
Minister, just a minute, please.
Why are you interfering with this speech? And you know you're getting the copies. The copies are on its way.
Minister, continue, please. What happened?
Mr. Speaker, no, Mr. Speaker, member, please.
Members, please, members.
Member from Southwest St. Catherine. Thank you. Mr. Speaker, we appreciate that there is indeed a standing practice, and we adhere to this practice. So we were about to ask for a slight recess to allow for the printed statement to reach. But it is here, and therefore we can now ask the member to resume his statement.
Minister, can you continue your statement, please?
You know, I was gonna not. I brought two speeches today.
Members, please. Members.
House leader, I brought two speeches today.
Members.
They look like they want me to read the second one. I'll continue with the first one because it's the beginning of the financial year. I want to start by giving an update to the House on the Spark program. The shared prosperity through accelerated improvement to our road network Spark project represents a bold step forward in our national development agenda. With a $45 billion contract awarded, work commenced last December, and we have already issued 3 work orders covering 126 roads in 63 constituencies. Today, I will announce an additional 42 roads, which will be included in Work Order 4. Spark, as we all know on this side, will revolutionize road development and improvement in our country. The initiative will improve our economic efficiency, bolster our tourism appeal, and create employment opportunities. It is projected to generate over 13,000 direct jobs during construction, while delivering an estimated $1.3 billion in savings from vehicle cost reductions, enhanced service accessibility, and strengthened community connectivity. The scope of Spark includes the rehabilitation of main, local, and community roads, addressing pavements, selected intersections, sidewalks, drainage, and retaining walls. The project integrates water infrastructure upgrades, also includes fiber optic ducting to support broadband activity. A crucial element of the program is a $5 billion investment in water pipeline upgrades, synchronized with roadworks to minimize disruptions. I'll now announce to the House Work Order 4. We would have had Work Order 1, 2, and 3. I would have announced Work Order 1 previously. I thought it appropriate to announce Work Order 4. Let me explain the context of Work Order 4. When we did the consultations, immediately after the consultations, the National Works Agency would have begun to scope a lot of the roads that were announced in the consultations. A couple weeks ago, I reached out to members of parliament, asking them if they could advise, based on consultations, what are the 2 priority roads they have. Many members of parliament would have responded to us and given us those 2 roads. Sadly, because a lot of the roads were scoped already, and we needed to start the project as we had already signed the contract, the government had to start with the roads that we scoped. Many colleagues on this side did not get their priority roads in the beginning. I never got my priority roads, and many other colleagues did not get it. What we decided to do, if you would listen, you would hear, is in Work Order 4 to ensure that as much of the priority roads that were chosen by colleagues from both sides are included in Work Order 4. I'm announcing them now, most of them, because the previous 3 work orders were the roads that were scoped and were ready to give to China Harbor. So what we have done is we have ensured that the priority ones that you chose are now in Work Order 4. So if you would listen, Kingston Central, Wagonet Crescent, McWhitney Street, if that's the proper pronunciation. Yes, McWhitney. Kingston Western, Upper Church Street, Greenwich Street, St. Andrew Western, Longfellow Avenue, West Bay Farm Road. Those are the two that you had asked for, remember? St. Andrew Eastern, Tavern Crescent, Confidence View Lane. St. Andrew East Rural, Middleton Settlement, and 2-3 to Jack Allen and turn off to Freetown. St. Andrew Southern, opposition leader, you had raised concerns. Collie Smith Drive, Lincoln Crescent. Those are the two that you had asked for. St. Catherine South, Western, Water Lane, Bushy Park. St. Catherine East Central, Power Avenue, and Dover Avenue, Daisy Close, and Queens Avenue. Now let me explain why St. Catherine, and I don't see the member here, why he has gotten 4 roads. Orlando, Member Terrell. Let me explain. So, the reason he has gotten them is that his roads, some of them are 100 meters long. So it wouldn't have made sense to go into a community, a housing scheme, and do a 100-meter road, and then right around the corner is another 100-meter road, and you leave it and come back. And you leave it and come back. So because his roads are 100 meters, 150 meters long, we decided to do 4 of these small roads. And the St. Catherine Northeastern, Facey and Coolshade, St. Catherine South Central, Homestead Boulevard, St. Catherine Central, William Street and Eltham Boulevard, Manchester Southern, Ebenezer School Road, Top Road, Rose Hill, Manchester Northeastern, Mickey Pipe House Road and Heavy Tree Waterloo, St. Elizabeth Southeastern, Broomfield and Queensbury, St. Elizabeth Southwestern, Slipe. The member was very adamant that Slipe needed to be repaired. Fuller's Wood to Slipe to Frenchman. Wire Road, we have Westmoreland, Western, Townhead, Hanover Eastern, Claremont, Hanover Western, Richmond to Cocoon, and Akenish to Clifton. Trelawney Northern, Samuel Prospect, and Road 22, St. Anne Southwestern, Hamerton to Greenhill, Portland Western, White River, and Commodore. Let me tell members, and members need to understand. This is the 4th work order since February. We are issuing a work order every week. So work order 5. We will be announcing work order 5 in about next week, which will carry another tranche of roads for members. I wish to move on now to the South Coast Highway Improvement Project. So the Southern Coastal Highway Improvement Project is another testament to our commitment to infrastructure development. A $575 million project. I can announce today that the project is 96% complete, with 2 major components: Part A, Mapens to Williamsfield Toll Road, and Part B, Harborview to Yallas Bridge, covering 7.4 kilometers of a 4-lane highway already open to the public. Works are progressing on the Yallas to Port Antonio and Morant Bay to Cedar Valley legs, which span 123 kilometers of 2-lane roadway. I want to jump to a very important announcement, which is the Port Antonio bypass. The government is prioritizing an $81 million Port Antonio bypass project to improve travel efficiency, reduce congestion, and support regional economic growth. Working with the Ministry of Finance to secure funding and expected to commence in the 2nd quarter of this financial year, the bypass will span 7 kilometers with a 4-lane design and will provide an alternative route to ease congestion in Port Antonio Each lane will be about 3.5 meters wide. The bypass and Port Antonio, well, Port Antonio is a critical hub for tourism and agriculture, but suffers from chronic traffic congestion, unsafe pedestrian conditions, and limited connectivity. This project will play a key role in the regional development by unlocking economic potential and enhancing mobility. The cabinet will, on Monday of next week, contemplate the Port Antonio bypass, and I'm confident that it will have the support of the cabinet so that it can commence in short order. Also want to speak about the bridge program. Colleagues would have been very concerned about the state of our bridges. Jamaica has 800 bridges, many of which are aging and require urgent repairs or replacement. To access this, to accelerate this program and to fix our bridge infrastructure, we have launched the accelerated bridge renewal process with the support of the Ministry of Finance. This bridge program is funded through a combination of recurrent and capital budgets and will be implemented over the medium term. We also have the priority bridge program, which will be dealing with critical bridges, some of which have already started. We can announce that the Troy Bridge is over 50% complete, which is a $230 million investment. The Spring Village Bridge is at 5%, which is a $250 million investment. The Craig Mill Bridge in Portland, valued at $170 million, is in emergency procurement, but a footbridge is to be constructed at a cost of $30 million. Southwood in Clarendon, Barham in Westmoreland, Guanaba Vale in St. Catherine have completed feasibility studies and are moving to the PIMS appraisal phase. The Mahogany Vale Bridge in St. Anne is being repackaged, in St. Thomas is being repackaged and retendered to facilitate completion. And we just awarded a contract of $30 million for some urgent repairs to the Alley Bridge.
Hello, person to hear that? Can't complain no more.
Just 10 minutes, 5 minutes.
The member's time for speaking having been expired, I beg to move that it be extended sufficiently for him to complete his presentation. In the normal run of things, Mr. Speaker, you know I would have asked for a specific time, but the member assures me that it will be done within 5 minutes. May it please you, Mr. Speaker.
Members, the request is on the floor. Minister. Minister. Thank you. Members, the request is on the floor for the extension of time allotted to the minister. Those in favor? Those against? Ayes have it. You may continue, Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I won't be long. The Reach Road Repair Program and the $2 billion Reach Emergency Island-wide Main Road Patching Program actively address deteriorating road conditions caused by severe weather events, including Hurricane Beryl and Tropical Storm Raphael. The emergency patching program is 80% complete, while the broader $3 billion repair initiative is progressing steadily, with phase one of the constituency-based program from between September last year to December at 72% complete. And both phases, phase one and phase two of the constituency-based aspect, will be completed by June 2025. Madam Speaker, I know a lot of colleagues are interested, but as a background, the Prime Minister would have announced the $2 billion Reach Emergency Program last year. It was not a patching program strictly, but including milling and paving and minor drain works. The program significantly relieved motorists and other road users and rehabilitated several of our main roads. We spent more on road work, Mr. Speaker, we spent more on road work last year than we have ever spent in the history, the independent history of our country. And I heard a lot of statements, colleagues, over the last several weeks about road works. And I just want to read to you some of the allocations that have been made to roads over the last, let's say, 13 years. In 2014-2015, the estimated allocation to the National Works Agency for emergency road repairs, river training, gullies, bridge development, maintenance of secondary roads, traffic management, and island-wide disaster mitigation was $202 million. Eventually, they ended up selling million. Let me do it again. The estimates of expenditure tabled in the Parliament gave the National Works Agency in 2014-15 $200 million. They eventually spent $562 million. In 2015-16, the estimates of expenditure tabled in this House for the categories I listed, emergency repairs, river training, gullies, and so on, was $523 million. They eventually spent, well, that's what they spent, $523 million. In the revised estimates of 2016-2017, there was a spending of $2 billion. So compare 2016-2017, 2015-16, 2014-2015, and compare ours 2016-2017 of $2 billion. But that's not it alone. Our expenditure, remember, we're coming from 2014 where only $500 million was spent. No, literally spent. In 2014-15, only $562 million was spent on roads in Jamaica. Compared to 2017-2018, where this Andrew Holness administration spent $3.8 billion on roads. And in 2018-2019, we spent $5.3 billion on roads. In 2020-2021, Minister Williams, under COVID, we had to go down to $4.5 billion, and in 2021-2022, we went to 4.8. But when we revised the estimates in 2021-2022, we spent $7.1 billion on roads. 2022-2023, revised estimates, $6.2 billion. Minister, 2023-2024, $7 billion was spent on roads by this administration. And here's the thing, 2024, because we are at the beginning of the financial year, 2024, 2025, 8.78.
Wix gives you the power of AI to build the website you need. With full business functionality and a design tailored just for you. Customize every element of your website and watch your vision come to life in minutes. Control everything from the biggest tasks to the finest details. Personally.
So, to continue or to start another year of record expenditure on our infrastructure in Jamaica, we're starting, Madam Speaker, Mr. Speaker, we're starting where we started in 2016. We're starting with 1.5. So for this financial year, as part of the quarterly patching program, we're allocating $1.5 billion to road infrastructure for quarterly patching. Remember, there are 4 quarters in a year, So if we're starting with 1.5, you can contemplate the other 3 quarters plus other monies that are slated. We will spend $1.5 million on road rehabilitation through our quarterly patching program over the next 3 months to continue the work we started last year under the REACH programs. We are going to rehabilitate community roads and also improve infrastructure. Mr. Speaker, we are building a Jamaica that is more connected, more resilient, and more prosperous. Our investment in roads, bridges, water supply, sewage, fiber optics, drainage, intersection improvements, traffic signals, sidewalks, street light signage, and road markings reflect a holistic approach to national development. As we move forward, we remain steadfast in our commitment to delivering on infrastructure works that serve the needs of every Jamaican. Let us build a future that is strong. And before I leave, I want to just run through some of the projects that we're doing. Grange Lane, $925 million, 90% complete. Brayton to Hillshire Main Road, contract awarded $2.4 billion, right? Arthur Wint, Tom Redcom Drive, PIM studies submitted to the Ministry of Finance, $3.5 billion. East Kings House Road to Lady Musgrave, our studies have been completed, $4 billion. New entry to Portmore, studies have been completed, $4 billion. Sandy Gully Bridge, Kenhill Drive, studies completed, $500 million. Troy Bridge in Talani, 50% complete. Spring Village Bridge, 5% complete. Craig Mill Bridge at procurement to start within this quarter. Southwood Clarendon, soon to begin. Barham Westmoreland, soon to begin. Gun Harbor Vale, soon to begin. Mahogany Vale in St. Thomas, to be restarted because the road up by Garden Town collapsed. We have almost finished the $2 billion REACH emergency patching program. We have finished the $1.5 billion island-wide post-burial patching program, while the works designated to constituencies of over $1.2 billion under the normal REACH will be completed by June this year. Mr. Speaker, together let us build a future that is strong and sustainable and filled with opportunities for our people. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, I do anticipate that my colleagues on this side will have many questions to raise, but in relation to the presentation by the Minister, I have noted the progress update. And the first thing that struck me, Mr. Speaker, is the fact that under the Spark program, we are seeing a total of 168 roads, adding that last 42 to be started. And I do have a question as to the capacity. China Harbor is the main contractor. Perhaps the minister could explain to us what is there in terms of subcontracting. But certainly, we have never seen capital projects being undertaken at this pace. So I want to be assured, and I'm sure the country would want to be assured, that there's a capacity for doing this. And I'll just explain to you one of the reasons. In my own constituency, under the REACH program, I was told that the contractor could not acquire enough asphalt to complete the patching works. So I would like to understand in relation to this 168 roads, whether or not there's capacity in terms of the work, the role of the contractor, subcontracting, but also the materials that would be necessary for such works to be completed.
I will ask for your road.
Minister, you have spoken about the Southern Coast Highway project, and you have mentioned that it is now 96% complete. Minister, every time I drive that side of the country, I'm seeing road repairs being done on that roadway, which should be now a new highway. Every time I go there, I see the road being repaired, dug up and being repaired subsequent to what we thought was their completion. So the chaos continues there. But you've also mentioned today the Port Antonio bypass. And I don't wish to speak on behalf of the Member of Parliament over there, but I am sure that the experience that we would have gotten from the St. Thomas roadway, which created such chaos, dust, upheaval for the people of St. Thomas and Portland, would like to know what assurances are being given to this Port Antonio bypass. And just to be a little parochial, recently the Prime Minister did announce that as part of the Southern Coastal Highway project, that major drain problem on Harbor Drive would be repaired, and also a promise was given in relation to Windward Road. Can you say where the funds are for that? And then one other clarification, you just mentioned that 1.5 billion will be spent per quarter during this financial year. Huh? Well, can you clarify? You said 1.5, I heard 1.5, so it means that you'll be spending 6 billion for the year. Well, I am seeking clarification, and if you can explain how will those roads be identified?
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. So there's no asphalt shortage in Jamaica. Before the REACH program was announced, the government engaged Petrojam, which is our main supplier of bitumen, which is the main component in asphalt. And they assured us and they provided us evidence of this source of asphalt. Now, I cannot speak for an individual contractor and his ability to procure asphalt when it's needed. What I can say is that there's absolutely no shortage, to the extent where we have to be exporting surplus bitumen to other Caribbean countries, earning us foreign exchange based on the amount that we have. So I can't speak to an individual contractor's capacity. I can only speak to the capacity of the state institution, which is Petrojam, and the enterprise contractor who has 4 asphalt plants and is engaging with other contractors who themselves have asphalt plants. You asked whether or not we had the capacity to do 168 roads, which is why it was an international tender. It was an international tender because we needed a contractor who had the capacity to do a massive capital project within a short space of time. A part of the contract that was signed with China Harbour Engineering is that they have to engage local contractors. Now, we don't tell them which local contractors to engage, but based on discussions with them, they have spoken to us about some of the top grade 1 contractors across the island who have already been going around into various communities and examining roads that they have been assigned by China Harbour to do. So we have no challenge there. In my discussions with them, they'll be renting equipment from local contractors. They'll be using facilities belonging to local contractors. So what you will see is not a situation where they take everything, but where they have to, because of the scale of the project, it is 4 packages stretched across the entire island. We plan this year to probably go to 250 roads in this financial year, or by the end of this calendar year. We're already at 168, and we have about another 80 to go before April, May. So we're confident that they have the capacity. Your question regarding the South Coast Highway Improvement Project, do remember that as a part of the project, there is a thing called a defects liability period, which stretches for 2 years. That 2-year defects liability period has not kicked in yet. The roads, for the most part, that are under the South Coast Highway Improvement Project are still under the care and control of the contractor. So up until they hand over the roads, any defect, any flaw, any pipe burst, anything that is dug up, they have to repair it. And when they hand over the roads in about May, June, then there's a 2-year period where if there's any flaw that occurs because of their inaction or action, then they have to repair it as well. Also remember that the South Coast Highway Improvement was a brownfield project, meaning the government was attempting to rehabilitate 100 and odd kilometers of roads while people were still driving on it, while people were living on it, while people were conducting their business on it. We were replacing pipes and connecting people with pipes on a massive scale while people were using the pipes. So it would have been expected, regrettably, that there would have been displacement. But I can guarantee you, in my many trips to St. Thomas, in speaking to the people in Morant Bay, in speaking to the people in Yallas, even the people in Port Morant, where the road is not finished yet, they have expressed a significant amount of appreciation that this Andrew Holness government has put St. Thomas on the map. When I was going to the university, you can't even afford to buy land in St. Thomas anymore. When I was going to university, the Honorable Rex Nettleford said I could connect it to the people of St. Thomas. The government of Jamaica under Andrew Holness has smaddified the people. We have made them in a smaddy, so nobody can look on them and say that them are nobody. We're legitimizing their land, their infrastructure. Port Antonio bypass. Unlike the St. Thomas Road, a lot of the Port Antonio alignment is greenfield, meaning it is not going to interfere with the general day-to-day business. There will be some small land acquisition that needs to take place that will displace persons. But because it is mostly a greenfield project, there will be less displacement than what happened under the general ship. The Harbour Drive is not under ship, it's under Spark. We had said that we would fix it under the Spark Main Road program. And the other one that you spoke about, Windward Road, I will research that and come back to you. I said that we're starting with $1.5 billion and we have 4 quarters. So imagine what we'll do for the rest of the year. I never said we're going to spend $6 billion. I said we're starting with $1.5 billion as we started in 2016 with 1.5. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, thank you. Minister,
yes,
you are correct that the 2 priority roads, the 2 roads mentioned,
yes,
listed here are priority roads. But as you know, this should have been included in work. It should have been the first road, as the Honorable Prime Minister announced. But I was told then that we had a piping problem. Am I to assume now in this announcement that that has been resolved and that him just announced, so enough to tell me that has been renounced? And so, am I to assume that that has now been resolved and that work order 4, it will ensure that that will go ahead? And the other issue is you make mention of 500 million for Sandy Gully. What I heard you, could you correct what I've heard? I thought I heard 500,000 or something like that. 500 million, whatever the number is. But Sandy Gully was mentioned. And you know that's a vexed issue, not only with me, but the people of Western St. Andrew. So what is that issue? What is the allocation for? And what is the scope of work that we can expect? Yeah? Those are the 2 questions.
James. Mr. Speaker. Thank you very much.
Minister Mike.
You would be aware, member, that the challenge we had in the beginning was we started a $40 billion program called Spark, and we recognize, based on our experience with the South Coast Highway Improvement Project, that the pipe program must run concurrently with the roadwork program. The challenge with your constituency is that every single road that was chosen in the consultation required pipes. So while we could have found roads in other constituencies to start with that didn't require pipes, you are aware that a special dispensation had to be made so that you could get the first two roads. We have had consultations with the contractor, who is China Harbor, and the two priority roads that you have chosen are now on work order 4 because we have found a way to get the pipes in quickly. You asked the question about the Sandy Gully. I would prefer to call it the Sandy Gully and its tributaries, because our plan is not just to fix the Sandy Gully. Because, no, the Sandy Gully is a part of a network that was developed to drain Kingston of floodwaters. We want to do a massive capital project. Yes, it was developed in the 60s by the Jamaica Labour Party government. We want to do a massive overhaul of the Sandy Gully, and it is going to require a significant amount of pre-investment work for studies to be done, for analysis to be done, and so on. And then you cannot spend capital money without doing the proper thing. That's why we came up with the PIMSEC process. So the money that you see that we have announced is the pre-investment money to assist us in doing the procurement for the major overhaul of the Sandy Gully.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, through you. Minister, the Spark program, I'm one of those where the priority roads that your office called and asked me to identify remain untouched. And I find it ironic, Minister, that you mentioned about 4 roads in Newland, which is adjacent to the community, that my priority road is in Nagohead, is being done under package 4 because of the proximity of the 4 roads there. And the ones that I have identified remain untouched. And I'm going back. And what the other one? The other program, the REACH program. Minister, it is appalling. The member sitting beside you lives along one of those roads. Yeah, man. The member beside you, who is very loud about our road not being repaired by you. Mr. Speaker, Minister, at Standing Finance Committee meeting, I asked you about the Brayton, Dunbeholden to Spanish Town Main Road. And you told me that that is not an NWA road, which is not true. I spoke to the NWA and they confirmed that it is on their schedule, measuring 8.8 kilometers. They have started to dig up some of the holes on it, and they left it there for over 3 weeks now. That happens to be a main road, the Brayton Main Road from the Elsha intersection through to Old Brayton, Dunbeholden, and Phoenix Villas into Spanish Town. That is a main road, not just serving my constituents, but it serves people who come off the toll road to connect to the bypass in Spanish Town. It is in a deplorable condition, and the people who you have working on it, they dig up parts of it and they leave it undone. Elsha to Elsha Main Road, they have dug up some of those holes and left them there for weeks now unfinished. The only roads that have been patched under the REACH program that I have submitted are those adjoining East Central St. Catherine, which is a JLP member of parliament. None of the roads in my constituency, none of them that I've submitted, including those major roads, one of them that borders with East Central, that's patched out from I-95 along the Bernard Lodge main road into Spanish Town, where that member of parliament has no residence at the top part of it before Caribbean Estate. Right? Now I'm complaining because I call the officer and I'm not getting any response. You're not returning my call there, so I have to speak to you here. Right? Mr. Speaker, on the Bernard Lodge main road, that borders East Central and South, that portion in Lakes, Pen and Lime Tree, where that member of parliament has no interest, is deplorable and untouched. I border with it. Quarry Hill on the other side, the one I want to cut off, is on the other side. It is left undone. Mr. Speaker, I am speaking about the deliberate political victimization in the road repair in Portmore. If you look at this, there are 3 constituencies in Portmore, and two of them are on this program, and the only one omitted in section 4 is South St. Catherine. I have left to believe that it's deliberate and not coincidental. So I want to know, Mr. Speaker, when my priority road submitted on the Spark, which is not coincidentally that area is predominantly JLP, you know. But we want it for the first time, the last local government election. That's why they don't want to go back there. So I want you to tell me when my priority roads are going to fix. I'm going there with you next. I would like some answer for those questions, Mr. Speaker.
Members, before Minister, you may sit. Members. Member.
At Johnson & Johnson, we choose New Jersey because it has the talent that drives innovation.
A follow-up presentation. All right.
Oh my. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. No. So,
thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Members.
So the first point I want to make to the members' assertion is that every MP has been allocated between.
Will the member from St. Mary Western please allow the minister to make his presentation, answer to the questions that are asked. Minister, you may continue.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to say to the member from St. Catherine Southern that every MP in this house got the same amount of money on the reach. Every single member of parliament, including the minister with responsibility, got the exact same amount. $10 million last year, $10 million this year. The second point I want to make is, I do not choose the roads that are repaired. The roads that are repaired are chosen by the technical persons based on the quality and standard of the roads. So when you come here and you make accusations about politicization, you're not accusing me of politicization. You're accusing all the officers and civil servants of the National Works Agency of politicization. The other thing that I want to say to you, and I don't even, if I made an error with the designation of roads in Portmore, I will withdraw it. But the point I want to make is a majority of the roads in Portmore are not NWA roads, they are parish council roads. And a majority of the complaints I get about roads in Portmore are not NWA roads, they are parish council roads. So I would want you to encourage your Portmore municipality to assist us. Assist the National Works Agency. We have spent hundreds of millions in Portmore. Assist us in fixing some of the roads in Portmore. Thank you very much.
You're raising a point of order? Let's hear the point of order.
Mr. Speaker, the minister in his statement implied that the road in question to be repaired on the Reach and Spark, not belonging to NWA. Mr. Speaker, let me complete. The minister indicated that the roads are predominantly local roads. That is true. But the REACH program and the SPARK program does not differentiate between NWA or local roads. So it is inapplicable.
Oh, look here.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Minister, just a couple of questions. I'm still not very clear on what you meant that the MPs would have chosen their priorities, sent them in, but that you would have started scoping. And you is plural. You know that, right? You include you as minister, includes you with the agency that we're talking about. So you would have started scoping, which meant that when you came and asked us which were the two that we wanted as priorities, those would have differed from the priorities that were being scoped. Because that's really what, I don't understand that. I don't understand that because what that also does is set us up as members of parliament, because once we were asked, what are your two priorities of the 10 that you went to a consultation and arrived at, and we would have also have done some consultation. You know, that is what inclusive government would do, which now means that you having chosen two roads that are different now leaves us in another problem, right? So I want a little bit of understanding about how the priorities from your side differ from the priorities from the members of parliament. So that is one. The second is, Minister, Oakland Crescent was the #1 priority at our consultation. In fact, there were several individuals who came up representing that, even though they did not live on that road, but they were mindful of the condition. It was one of the roads that I had sent in of the two for priority. You sent back to say that that one wasn't going to be in it because of some issues, I think with some pipes as well. And therefore, we were looking at two others. And then I see a totally different set now that you are indicating to be done. So it's very confusing as to how we have come to make those decisions. And I think one of the questions I'd also like to ask as a follow-up is for roads like Oakland Crescent, what should, as member of parliament, what should I expect? As individuals living in and around the area, what should they expect in terms of that?
Minister, do you want to take the questions from the last two members? Okay, go ahead.
So you would have recommended Oakland Crescent and Freeman Lane. I want to just make it clear to members of the public who are listening to not be confused. We are choosing roads from the 10 roads that were submitted from the consultation by members of parliament. So it's not a case where the National Works Agency has chosen 2 roads separate from the 10. So the 10 roads are actually the 10 priority roads in your constituency that you chose. The second point I want to make is that this is not a political program. The minister does not have any impact on which roads are chosen and when. These are purely technical decisions made by the consultants. I never said you said that, you know. Yes.
This one is on.
Oh, thank you very much. The point of order, the member is misleading the House. When I asked my question, I did not suggest for half a second that it was a political program. So if he wants to make a clarification about what is happening, he should. But to frame it by saying that he doesn't want persons to be misled is imputing that I had been misleading, and that would be misleading the House and the public.
The reason I was caused to make the clarification is that in your initial statement, you said you, and you said the plural you, which means you said I, a politician who is the minister, would have an impact onto the 2 roads that were chosen, which were not your priority roads. So I must make the public aware. It is my obligation to make the public aware that I, as the minister, had 0 impact into whichever roads were chosen. What caused the roads to be chosen, which were not your priority roads, is the fact that we needed to get the contractor running immediately. When we finished the consultation, which we did 63 across the island, we had started scoping even before priority roads were determined. So we said to the contractor, go with these until we get the priorities, which were the 2. We, the NWA, right? So just to answer your question on that, I don't know what you're going to say to the Oakland residents other than to say to them that we have several work orders coming up and that their road will be on it probably in the 5th or 6th work order, which is coming within this month. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Minister, I would believe that almost all of us on this side have similar problems. We did a consultation, and after the consultations were done, well, I don't know, because it looked like it's Duppy doing these roads, because all I can hear is not me, it's not he, and so I don't know who doing the roads. So probably it's Duppy doing these roads. Because up to now, I don't know, because the minister say he has nothing to do with it, and the NWA is saying it's not them. So I would probably love for you to tell me who they are. But yes, no worry, you know. Minister, I was asked to look at 2 out of the 10 priority roads. Am I getting your attention, Minister?
Member Daly, and for the remaining members who would like to ask questions, we are still at statement by ministers. And therefore, you are to ask your question.
Thank you very much, Madam.
I will remind you to read the front of the agenda.
Yeah.
This is an important program. So latitude is being given. Please do not ask the same question again.
No,
And please stick to asking questions.
Minister, thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Minister, I heard, I'm not too sure if it was you who made mention of the member from East Central St. Catherine getting 4 roads because the distance was very short. Now, the 2 that has been named for St. Catherine Eastern is extremely short. And I am wondering, Minister, that it is the same 2. So I'm going to ask of you if there is any difference between who get the shortest and who gets the one that is not so short. Thank you very much.
Minister, we are going to have to figure this out because every time the sequence of mics will go through all the persons waiting to ask you a question. I'm going to ask members to turn off all the mics, and there are questions from, all right, so, well, Member Robinson, turn yours on. You had a question as well, Member Guy. So you have 3 persons? All right. Members go. Nita Garvey's name is member from St. Catherine North Central.
Madam Speaker, I'm asking the minister if he would kindly clarify for me why it is that I would have contacted the ministry and a list of the roads, my 10 roads, which were chosen after consultation, were sent back to me indicating which roads could be done now and which roads could be done later. I then chose 2 from the list of available roads which could be done now and responded forthwith. I went further to have someone accompany the person who was sent to do the estimates on the road, to scope the roads. I also know that the last road to be scoped, which was the one scoped less than a month ago, when the others were scoped maybe 3 months before, was the one that you now place as my priority. I'd like to ask, how is it that we have arrived at these 2 roads? I have no difficulty. All of them are important to me. That's not the point. But I believe it's completely disingenuous, Minister, to suggest that this is how you arrived at the roads, when I know for sure when they were scoped. I also know the ones which were clearly defined to me from your office as to what was available to be done now and what would have to be done at a later time. Kindly let me understand so I can explain to the people I serve.
No, Minister, remember, next question is the member from St. Andrews Southeast, and then Minister, after that, we will have the question from St. Mary Central, and then I believe that's the list of questions for you, Minister, after which you may proceed.
Madam Speaker, I'm seeking clarity too. After my 10 roads were submitted, I was asked for two priority ones, which were confirmed in writing by the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation. It was actually in work order number 2. I was asked to identify liaison officers, etc. What I'm asking is, can the minister state when those roads will start? I got very excited, probably a little bit too premature, and went and told the people them that them road good now, because I have it in writing. And I see work order 3, work order 4. But at the end of the day, I want to be in a position to say to my constituents definitively, whether it is in April, May, or June, when can they expect the works to start? And to be honest, after the presentation today, I don't know. I really don't know what to tell the person. So I just want to know from the 2 roads that are in work order number 2, can there be a specific time frame that can be given as to when those roads will start?
Thank you, member. Member from St. Mary Central.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Minister, you indicated when the member from St. Andrew Western was querying about the roads that there were challenges with his road as it relates to water mains. I have a similar problem in one of the 2 roads that have been recommended as priority roads. Question is China Harbor now in a position to be able to respond to the needs of the water mains, having regard to the fact that that is what hindered that first program in Western St. Andrew? Will other roads, especially mine, which is the Killancolly one that I speak specifically of, suffer from the same fate?
Thank you very much.
Minister.
Just to close off, the 2 roads in the member from St. Catherine Eastern come up to 140.
That you going to be expended, but I have not heard of the distance. I want to know if it is the same distance or it's a shorter distance, because look here, I'm talking to the minister, please. You're not the minister, you don't know nothing about road. Madam, could you, minister, just give me, could you, my point of order, I would love to get the measure.
Member, please be gracious and kind to your colleagues. Member. Minister, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Well, to assure you, member, the 4 roads in the parish of Portmore cumulatively are significantly shorter than the 2 roads in your constituency. What I can do is I can get the NW. I don't think it's necessary because your concern should be about your constituency. As it relates to the other member from St. Catherine, the fact is that the technical team, when they engaged you, they told you about the roads that were scoped and the roads that were not scoped. Your priority roads, based on what I have here, West Prospect and Springvale were not scoped at the time that you gave your priority roads. The 4 roads that were scoped were different from the ones that you said were your priority roads. So I do not understand. I will speak to the National Works Agency to find out when those works would start. We are very far advanced with the pipe procurement, but what we have decided to do is to see locally where we can procure as many pipes as possible to assist yourself and the member from St. Andrew with the pipes. You don't care about the member from St. Andrew. You're such a good colleague. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much, Minister. Members, we have 3 items that we will need to recommit. House Leader.
So, Madam Speaker, I beg to move for the recommitment of the items announcements, reports of committee, and notices of motions given orally.
Announcements.
Announcement? All right, laid on the table of the House is a report of the Ethics Committee of the House of Representatives on its deliberations on the motion for exemption brought on behalf of the Member of Parliament for St. Andrew, Northwestern.
Reports from committees.
Madam Speaker, on behalf of the Chairman of the Ethics Committee of the House of Representatives, I beg to lay on the table of the House a copy of the report of the Ethics Committee of the House of Representatives on the exemption motion brought on behalf of the member from St. Andrew, Northwestern.
Thank you, House Leader. Notices of motions given orally.
Madam Speaker, I beg to notice that at the next meeting of the House, I will move the following motion. Be it resolved that the report of the Ethics Committee of the House of Parliament of Representatives on the exemption motion brought on behalf of the member from St. Andrew Northwestern, which was laid on the table of the House of Representatives on the first day of April 2025, be approved. Madam Speaker, I beg to give further notice that at a later stage today, I will move for the suspension of the standing orders to enable me to take this motion.
Thank you, House Leader. Public business.
Madam Speaker, I now move for the suspension of the standing orders to enable me to take the motion, notice of which I gave earlier.
Thank you, House Leader. The question is that the standing orders be suspended to enable the member to take the motion, notice of which he gave earlier. Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it, House Leader.
Madam Speaker, this is a routine measure, and it's usually met with full approval by the House, as the Ethics Committee is the guiding committee of the House with regards to the actions and activities of its members. So against that background, Madam Speaker, now move for the motion, notice of which I gave earlier, to be approved.
Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it. House Leader.
Madam Speaker, it's not intended to do any further business today. On the motion of adjournment, I just wish to indicate to members my appreciation for them to be able, in fact, to meet today, given how the energies that were exerted in the very powerful financial debate that took place on the appropriations bill for the month of March. In the normal run of things, Madam Speaker, we would have adjourned for a date to be fixed then, and the next time would be for the start of the sectoral debate. In this instance today, we are going to be adjourning for a date to be fixed, and we hope to come back to this House in short order to commence the sectoral debate after the Easter break. Madam Speaker, I beg to move, therefore, that this House be adjourned for a date to be fixed.
With pleasure, House Leader. The question is that the House do now adjourn for a date to be fixed. Those in favor? Aye. Those against? The ayes have it. This honorable House now stands adjourned.